In the previous lecture, we learned how chat works. In this lecture, let's take a look at its problems. We will see that chat answers questions and writes articles, sometimes very reliable, and sometimes nonsense. Can these problems be solved? Let me start with the conclusion. Some problems can be solved with improvements, while others are inherent in chat, and even inherent in today's machine learning methods, and are difficult to solve. What problems can be improved? Let's first look at what problems can be solved through improvement, which we can expect in the future. First of all, some errors are caused by insufficient information, which can be avoided in chat in the future. More and more problems will be solved by humans, and more high-quality information will be available on the internet. This is easy to understand, so let's not talk about it. However, this part of the problem will not be solved quickly, because the speed of human creation of new knowledge is not so fast. Although there are many words on the internet, the new knowledge added every year is not much. Another problem with chat is that the composition paragraphs it creates are boring and not vivid to read. In the words of some high school Chinese teachers in the US, they are like chewing wax. These problems can also be solved. After all, the technology of language models is still improving. To be honest, the paragraphs generated by chat today are much smoother than the paragraphs I produced at Google 10 years ago. For example, the paragraphs generated 10 years ago are equivalent to the essays of junior high school students, and today they are a bit like the level of junior high school or high school students. This level of writing already has certain application value. For example, when Chinese students apply to US universities, their English composition must not be as good as that of US high school students. As long as you specify clearly what to write, writing with chat may be smoother than writing by yourself. Considering the rapid progress of natural language processing technology, chat writing may soon exceed the average level of high school students. Another promising problem is that today's chat cannot be solved without a lot of labor behind it, and the running cost is particularly high. This problem can be solved slowly with the improvement of the algorithm. For example, the version of AlphaGo that defeated Li Shishi consumed the energy of a dozen-story work building, but the version that defeated Kji 2 years later reduced the power consumption by 2 or 3 orders of magnitude. Garbage in, garbage out. Are you feeling optimistic when you hear this? However, chat still has many problems, which are inherent in today's machine learning that relies entirely on data. These problems cannot be solved by increasing the size of the model, using deep learning to improve the accuracy of the model, or digging deeper language knowledge. Many people disagree with this point and think that, with the advancement of technology, the problems of language models and machine learning itself can be solved. Not only lay people think this way, but even many practitioners think this way. This reminds me of a sentence said by the late famous physicist Professor Zhang Xiaosheng. Many people have done years of research and have forgotten the first principles of physics. In the field of information, the boundaries drawn by information theory are impassable, just as the speed of light and absolute zero are impassable. The language model has evolved to this day. Although it has improved a lot, it is still a model that uses existing information to predict other information, and this nature has not changed. Therefore, if you don't give it enough information, it can't do things. It's like if you don't give fuel to a car, it can't go. In principle, almost all artificial intelligence products today are repeaters. ChatGPT can work only if you provide it with various knowledge and information. You provide it with high-quality data, it will generate a high-quality language model, and then give high-quality answers and write high-quality articles. Instead, you train it with junk data and it outputs junk. What is junk data? Part of it is noise. In the 1990s, scientists in the US automatic speech recognition found that if you use a microphone to record speech for recognition in a quiet environment, the error rate can easily drop below 10%. However, if it is a phone call recording, due to the noise of the phone, the error rate will exceed 30%. For speech, noise is a kind of garbage. Around 2000, I did some experiments at Johns Hopkins University and Google, mixing the text of the training language model with some noise, such as we mix some typos in the text, or swap the order of some words. The quality of the language model will be greatly reduced. In addition, the more noise, the faster the quality degrades. For example, when we use a language model to convert from Pinyin to Chinese characters, when the noise is 1% or 2%, it will not affect the accuracy of the conversion. When the noise reaches 5%, the error rate will increase significantly by 2 or 3 times. When the noise reaches 10%, the error rate will increase by more than 10 times. If there is more noise, the language model will not work and the result will be random. Friends who have used Chat will have such an experience. When you talk to it about some controversial topics, the answers it gives may be very unreliable, contradictory, completely illogical, and even unrelated to the topic. Why is this happening? Because the discussion on that topic on the internet is very unreliable. And if Chat learns those contents, it will amplify the unreliable performance. This is a famous sentence in machine learning. Garbage input, garbage output. Is there any solution? Usually there are only 2 methods. The first approach is to increase the amount of training data when the noise is not too high. This approach is effective, but requires several times more training data. For example, if the corpus is mixed with 5% noise, increasing the size of the corpus tenfold may make up for this shortfall. The second approach is to filter out the noise when you can find the source. For example, if you use Apple's Siri service while driving, the sound of the engine will actually enter the microphone. But it is a fixed frequency of noise, and Siri will filter it out. For example, we find that the content of a website has been unreliable, and we delete the corresponding content. However, a significant portion of the noise is generated randomly, and there is still nothing we can do about it today. This is a big problem in machine learning today. Noise aside, one of the problems with machine learning today is that the positive feedback it relies on sometimes leads it astray. What is positive feedback? For example, if you watch a few short videos NBA basketball on a short video website, the system gets some feedback, thinks you will like similar videos, and then adjusts the recommendation model specifically for you to recommend more NBA programs to you. This is the positive feedback of the system self-adaptation. This practice usually makes users feel very intimate. And the more you use it, the better it gets. Many people are addicted to short videos and nonsense tweets, which is why. However, the positive feedback of self-adaptation is a double-edged sword. If someone deliberately guides Chat to make mistakes, this positive feedback mechanism can cause it to make mistakes. In fact, many users have found that Chat has been badly taught in answering many questions. For example, some users may be joking and give it a lot of information about doing illegal things and a lot of hateful information, and it will teach people how to kill, how to make bombs, and occasionally make racist remarks. Unlike in the past, today we live in an age of information overload. The worry today is not that there is no access to information, but that there is too much information to read. Much of the information is also contradictory and confusing, not to mention the unnutritious and addictive videos and tweets. Faced with such a world of information overload and indistinguishable information and noise, the cost of judging whether a message is true or false is very high, and Chat itself is powerless. As I said earlier, it's like a chef. You give it nutritious ingredients, and it has the potential to make a dish that is both nutritious and tastes good. But if you give it garbage data to train on, it will only output garbage. This is a common problem in machine learning today. Boundaries of human intervention. One might wonder, could there be manual intervention to manually filter out those garbage inputs? Or what about not answering sensitive questions at all? In fact, Chat has human intervention behind it, and those hateful comments have been deleted. However, The model itself has a trillion parameters that are difficult to manually adjust. This huge language model is like a black box, and you can't figure out the meaning of those model parameters inside. In fact, today's language models are very different from those of the early last century. Early language models were simpler and usually stored the probabilities of the context directly. Today's language models store the parameters of artificial neural networks. And from those parameters, you can't tell their direct relationship to the magnitude of the probability. In other words, it is difficult to control the output of chat by artificially turning some parameters up or down. There is also a big hidden danger of manual intervention, which is to add people's subjective likes and dislikes to a language model that should be objective, which may lead to greater unfairness. Prior to this, Twitter's manual intervention had a very bad impact. During the 2020 US presidential election, Twitter blocked the account of Trump, whom it did not like, according to its own likes and dislikes. This is clearly an abuse of power. Subsequently, Musk decided that Twitter's practices violated the principles of freedom of speech, acquired Twitter, and drove out all management. After taking full control of Twitter, Musk made a 180-degree U-turn, restoring Trump's account on the one hand and banning many media accounts on the other. Today's chat is already a platform company. If the people inside choose training data according to their own likes and dislikes, and control the results, the harm may be greater than manipulating Twitter. Next section preview. If you are a fan of chat, you may feel that I am pouring cold water after listening to this lecture. In fact, we are not targeting this software, but to point out the common problems of the current machine learning-based intelligence system and remind you to pay attention. After the popularity of chat passed, many companies and individuals conducted comprehensive tests on it. The consensus is that it can still answer some questions with clear answers very well. But for questions that lack useful information, the answers it gives are quite random. Basically just repeating the words of the car and not much value. The root cause is explained in this lecture. Garbage input, garbage output. Next, let's take a look at how many resources it takes to build a chat and what constraints it will be subject to.